It's not always tactics or strategy holding you back. Sometimes it's your focus.
You cannot just always calculate your way through.
I play a bullet game or a blitz game. I get 2 seconds on the clock. My heart starts racing, and
The lower the level, the less it makes sense to spend more time.
The worst thing that a coach could do is to tell a student that it's a bad idea to develop the queen early in the opening.
Time would wake you up. It's like, okay, Misha, let's shake you off.
so which path are we going? The chess path or the nutritionist path in this podcast today?
Welcome to the Backrank podcast, Grandmaster Insights from Behind the Lines. Hi guys, how are you doing today?
Hi Misha, doing really well. Thank you.
Life is good. Life is good. Excited to talk about some new things today. Do you have anything to share?
Yeah, before we dive into today's conversation, I just want to give a quick update on one of my students' case we talked about briefly in the previous episode. So my student is 18, French, super talented, and he's aiming to become a master. And I noticed a very interesting thing in our lessons. When we were playing, he was playing much stronger against me than he was playing against other people online, against other random people online. And we started talking about it and asked some questions, and we discussed it in detail. And it turned out that he constantly had his phone notifications on. And while he wasn't doom scrolling during the games, between games, he would open Instagram, watch a few reels, maybe check messages. So his mind was scattered. And there is one small change that we did, that we decided to do. I asked him to turn off his phone notifications while he was playing and avoid scrolling between games. And the results has been incredible. In just a few days, he increased his rating by 200 points. So he went from 2,000 on chess.com to 2,200. I think it's an incredible result. And a simple fix like this can elevate your chess. It's not always tactics or strategy holding you back. Sometimes it's your focus.
Misha, I also want to get to 100 points. I'm going to disable the notifications right now.
Yeah, that's crazy. And on that level, it's crazy because it's way more difficult to gain rating points as you get better, right?
Yeah, it becomes exponential. It becomes exponentially harder.
The funny part is that even if I got to 200 extra points, I would still be below Magnus. So it wouldn't really help.
So it's not worth it, right, for you?
It's not worth it. Nope. Just gonna watch some reels instead.
That's definitely more fun. Did you watch any reels? I guess that's our opening question in all episodes, how many reels did you watch during the last week?
Yeah, so I don't think we talked about it last time because I think this eSports World Championship just happened now. So I've seen a few shorts from there. It was fun, like some new formats, and I think they did the whole thing without any support from major chess actors like chess.com or FIDE. So it was purely done by this esport organization, and they had $1.5 million in prize fund, which is pretty significant for the chess world. And it was some fun stuff, like Duda, I think, accidentally misclicked and lost 20-30K because of that misclick, because he lost a piece and then was supposed to gain it back and then misclicked and then didn't get it back and just resigned immediately. So minus 30K because of the misclick. So it makes chess more more entertaining in some ways. So it's cool that, things are happening, things are moving. I don't think it's probably like the final format, but they just tried it for the first time. They're gonna make some adjustments, so it's pretty cool.
So they basically make chess more like a computer game.
Yes and no. So like they still play like in person on like a massive arena, but they're playing with their computers. But there's audience, which is quite cool. But some people were complaining that the audience was too loud and whatnot. So I guess they're gonna evolve. But it was, I think, a pretty big success. They had some good audience, and I think that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's super weird for me. I don't think I've ever played against anybody, on the computer while being in one room. It looks a bit weird to me as a as
Maybe
a as a chess professional player,
you're
not
just
as
an
a
an old generation. Like
old school.
you don't get those things. Too old. Sorry.
I'm not Gen Z. I'm not Gen Z.
Yeah, and I think it looks okay, even though I'm a little bit older than you, Misha. But I think it looks okay. Like, because to me, online chess is a different game compared to like over the board chess with different tricks, different things that you can do right and wrong related to how quickly you play, how quickly you make moves, especially blitz format, bullet format, the most exciting formats that exist. So it kind of, I see how it's similar to other computer games and like how it
And
can be
from your
organized like.
experience, like what do you prefer better, online chess or over the board chess?
I actually like online chess. I like both. It depends. For me, it depends on the mood, I think. Because sometimes I just want to have online chess provides more action. Sometimes I just want to have a bit more action. Um, a bit of pre-moving, a bit of flagging.
You just
Some
gotta
fast
play
playing.
bullet over the board, and then you will get all the action in the world.
Like my heart, no. Like my heart rate never goes up super high when I play over the board chess. Never. It never happened like that. But bullet games or like some blitz games online, let's say I don't play for a week or two and I play a bullet game or a blitz game, I get 2 seconds on the clock, like my heart starts racing, and it's just an adrenaline rush, and it's a cool feeling overall that I can't get with over the board chess.
You know
Yeah.
what? Go ahead, man. Go ahead, Evgeny.
Yeah. I mean, just a little note for our audience. So like if you're a grandmaster, you probably like have a few extra laptops in your closet, because like once you place those things, you get so obsessed that you just can like throw things from the window, and then you need another one to back it up, right? So I guess it's just how it is for most players, but I think for grandmasters it's even worse.
Oh yeah.
So gotta be practical, gotta have a mouse, so that you can smash a mouse instead of
Exactly.
your
Exactly.
You gotta have a spare mouse. Right. But yeah, the other day I was running, and my friend gave me an advice that I should be in the second zone, like in zone 2 while like running. And there is a formula, and you can like calculate it pretty easily. So maybe we should try it with chess. When playing online chess, you gotta stay in zone 2, and then your results will skyrocket.
And zone 2, it's like a certain range of heart rate.
Yeah,
Right.
it's a certain range of heart rate, which is not like too high, basically. And I was very surprised. I joined the local run club, and they run very slowly. And I thought I would be definitely, in zone 2, because okay, this is like too slow. But I put my watch on, and it turned out that I was completely out of that zone. So even though they ran pretty slowly, and it was slow pace, I still sucked.
Mhm.
So
Evgeny,
it's
was
interesting to
there
check.
a tournament where they checked
Yeah.
chess players' heart rates, and it turned out that Magnus' heart rate is like way smoother and way more even than that of other players.
Like one of a dead person, yeah.
Mhm.
So I think they do those things more and more often in different tournaments. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they actually did the same in this esport event. So it's like more common now, and it's cool, just
It's
like
very cool.
seeing that. Yep, and you can see some. I think another dude, Evgeny, like he's also like a freaking cobra. Like he's just, you know, it's like it feels like he doesn't care at all at those moments. And some players are like just jumping like crazy, and they can like barely control themselves. So it's interesting to to see that you kind of know what's happening on the inside from the outside. So it's pretty cool.
Do
Okay.
you think that a person with a more even heart rate has an advantage compared to less balanced?
I mean, probably, but I don't really know for sure. I guess it could depend on the person. Maybe if you're like some crazy dude, maybe it helps you in some ways. I don't know, but I'm guessing logically would be that the lower it is, the better. Like the more calm you are, the better.
Mhm.
Maybe, but actually, I'm not sure about that because you know that uh, during my chess career, I always had time troubles. So basically, I spent the first like 85 minutes on like nothing, and then when I was down to 5 minutes, I started playing some good chess, and I was always very nervous when I was down to a few minutes. But at the same time, I was so focused that I actually, surprisingly, I played uh, some really quality moves. I mean, it's not surprising for me now, but back then it was very surprising for me. And why? Like, if I spend uh, 20 minutes on a move, I make a mistake, and when I spend like 1 minute on a move, I play the best move in the position. It sounds a bit counterintuitive, but now it doesn't, and we can actually talk about it later too. But yeah, so the thing is, my heart rate. I never checked, but since my hands were trembling, I could guess that my heart rate was pretty high. But if you compare the quality of my chess when I was down to a few minutes and when I still had a lot of time, I think that the quality was much better when I had a time trouble.
Yeah,
But it
makes
might
sense.
might be because of the focus and not because of the heart rate. So yeah,
Like
might be.
the time would wake you up. It's like, okay, Misha, let's shake you off. Like you gotta focus now. No time left. You don't want to lose.
It's like I
Yep.
was listening to an interview of the Corona coach. I think his name is Chuchalov, and he was telling about his experience, about how he watched the games of Corona live. And basically, what he said is that if Corona spent more than 20 minutes on one move, he was trying to find the worst move in the position, and he would bet that Caruana would make that worst move.
On his level, obviously, right? Like
Yeah,
he would probably pick like the worst out of like 5 best moves or something like that. But yeah, I I see what you're
Yeah.
saying.
I think Magnus mentioned that a few times. So like, you're not really supposed to think for like longer than 15 minutes because chess is too complicated. Like, I mean, I'm obviously talking about that highest level. So chess is too complicated. So if you think for 15 minutes and you're really not sure, that means that if you think for another 15 minutes and another 15 minutes, not really going to help. Like you're not in full control. The game is too complicated, so you have to trust your instincts a bit more. There's just no way around it. Like you cannot just always calculate your way through. Like it will work some of the time if you're someone like Gukesh, who is like really hardworking during the game, and you can go through as many things as you can. But chess is too complicated. It's impossible to stay in control. So at some point, it will just turn into a mess. So it doesn't really make sense to spend that much time because it's not really going to give you a better upside. So maybe Chichelov, without like fully like realizing, like started noticing that in in Fabi's play when he was like taking longer, and I'm guessing that's how he got to that.
Yeah, and that's like that on every level, right? You gotta trust your instincts, and it's important on every level as well.
I think that the lower the level, the less it makes sense to spend more time. So typically, the more time you spend, the more confused you're gonna get, and it's still a matter of of chance. Like, because most of the time, if you're 2,000 player, or even lower, if you're 1,500 player, 1,000 player, uh, unless it's something very obvious, which in that case you could probably see it in a few minutes. Unless it's something very obvious, whatever you're thinking is just random or semi-random, and was like 99% probability you're probably miscalculating some things and misunderstanding some things, because even the best players in the world do. So the more time you spend, the more confused you get, and the more you get a feeling that you maybe like see the position deeper, but that's not really what it is.
Long variation is run variation.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's a great point, that you gotta trust your instincts, and you gotta make a decision relying on your instincts and not on some made up rules. And the other day I had a lesson with another student who is 12, a very talented kid, fantastic kid, and that game pissed me off so much that I just cannot not talk about it today. So basically, we played a very interesting game, but I played with black, and my knight was right in the middle of the board, and my student could have trapped it with the pawn move, the pawn push to f3, and he didn't do it. He played something else, and then we continued playing, or actually we even stopped playing that game and started talking about it right after. And I asked him, okay, why didn't you trap my knight? He said, I'm not sure, I just wanted to castle. And then I started asking him, okay, now let's talk about what do you do, outside of our lessons? What type of content do you watch? Do you read any books or anything like that? Because I figured that probably the reason why he didn't push his f3, his f2 pawn to f3, was because there is a rule, very famous rule in the chess world: don't push your f pawns.
So you felt like he saw the move. It's not like he missed the move, but he saw the move, but decided not to make it because of some reason, right?
Actually, no. I don't think he consciously saw that move, because again, we were playing a bullet game, and he immediately castled short. I think that's some time ago. He found out about that rule, that you shouldn't push your f pawns. That it's so deep inside him that he doesn't even look for f3. I mean, again, it's a very subtle topic, because we actually don't know, what's happening in our mind. I'm not.
Yeah,
we do like that we can talk about, because that's something that we can explain. So we can talk about it after you finish the story.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Let's talk about it. But yeah, just to finish the story, I asked him, okay, why didn't you play f3? And he said, yeah, I wanted to castle. And then I asked him, okay, what type of content do you watch? And he mentioned that he was watching the video of Ben Feingold. And you know that one of his most famous rules, one of the most famous rules of Ben Feingold is don't push your f pawns. Right?
No, that's the second. That's the second one. The first one is you don't eat any meat.
Okay, I didn't know that. So I think that Ben Feingold is wrong about that. That you should push your f pawns if you think it's the right move in the position.
Also, the meat is very tasty.
Yeah, if you think that the meat is very tasty, you should eat it. But okay, I mean, we're not gonna go there. Anyways, push F2, push F7 if you think that it's the right move. Because if you don't do that, especially if you're just a beginner and you just started playing chess, you gotta try everything what looks good to you. You know, because if you don't try that, then you will miss out. If you don't play F3 or F6 just because Ben Feingold said so, you will miss out on a lot of opportunities in the future, just like my student did. He didn't trap my knight just because he, some time ago when he started playing chess, somebody told him, okay, don't push your F1 because it would weaken your king or something. And now he misses out on a lot of opportunities, and it will take time to fix that. Right.
Yep.
But Evgeny, what do you have to say about that?
So yeah, I imagine you listen to Ben Feigl and then, you know, you're walking by some restaurant and like someone is eating like the juicy steak and you're not gonna try it just because of that. It's not very smart. You know, you better try it for yourself and then make a decision. And especially if you know, if you want to stay healthy, you want to have strong bones, maybe you should eat some meat once in a while.
So which path are we going? You know, the chess path or the nutritionist path in this podcast today?
Yeah, but on a serious note, so what you're saying is very important, and there is a reason why he is. I think the best way to describe it is that he is blind to F3, like he's blind to that move, just the way you're blind to like certain things in your, like on the daily basis. Like you're doing a lot of things automatically. You're avoiding a lot of dangerous things automatically without thinking about that, right? Like when you're, I don't know, like when you're walking by the road, like you're not, like you don't have to constantly be thinking about, you know, not jumping or thinking what happens if you jump. Like, you know, like if you get to the road, the car is going to hit you, right? So there are thousands of like things like that that are already like,
yeah, like
totally burned into your brain, and that's just like a part of how our mind works.
as we get older, we don't like pay attention to certain things. The other day I was walking by the street and like I decided to look up for some reason and I see a pair of nice shoes on a tree like or like somewhere, and those are like nice looking shoes, you know, with a nice neighborhood, nice area. And it was just like funny because you wouldn't expect seeing them there. And children are more likely to notice those shoes because they look around, you know, exploring things. And I was just, you know,
Unless
it
you
was
tell them
like super random.
unless you tell them don't look up.
Unless
Yep.
you tell them don't look up, yeah, and don't explore.
Yep. So the way you can kind of like think about it, so think about your chess skill as just like a perception. Like you look at the board and you see some things and you don't see other things. So you're blind to certain things, and it's a good thing because otherwise you would see everything, and it's not useful to see everything because there are too many things in the world, right? And too many moves on the chessboard. So like there's something that helps you to narrow things down, and that makes you blind to all the other things. Like you're literally not seeing them. And there are a few things that kind of guide your perception. So there's an aim, and like everything is basically structured around that aim. And there are also what they call like values. So like there's those, or you could also call them rules, that kind of like set different like restrictions and limitations, like the rules of chess, right? Like you're not, like the rules of chess, they set those limitations for your perception of the board, because if there were no rules of chess, that wouldn't be a game. That would be like a total mess. And there are some rules that are true, some rules that are good, like the rules of the game, and there are some rules that are bad. So once you stack up enough of these like bad rules, bad values, like, oh, you're not supposed to be playing f3. So when you look at the board, you're just not going to see F3 ever. It's not like you will see it and then you will decide not to play it. Like you will be totally blind to it and you will not see it. And the weird thing is that that F3 trick could be like really simple for your student in a sense of, you know, in terms of his level. It could be something that he should be like easily see in 1 second all the time. But because of that rule, because of that, like he's just always going to be blind to that. Another thing that could be the case there, you said that it was the opening, so he wanted to castle. So as I told you, that perception is structured around the aim, and it could be that when he plays the opening, his aim is to castle, his aim is to finish the development, which is a really bad aim. And because of that, he may also be blind to moves like f3, just because it's, his aim and everything is structured to get to that aim in like the most efficient way he can do it. And that's another like issue with the rules, is that it could become like as wrong aims, because like you're playing the position and then you notice something familiar and that becomes your aim, and then the whole perception like is structured around that, and then again you're going to be blind to like very, very stupid things. There's one good example of that I'm going to give you, and then please share your thoughts on this. So one thing that I do all the time against all of my students, no matter the level, is if I get a position where I have many checks, let's say their king is in trouble or maybe there's some perpetual check, I always do this and it works 90% of the time. So I start checking them, and then at some point on check like 4 or 5, I put my queen where I check them, and I also, let's say, attack their queen. And 90% of the time, they move the king. 90% of the time, even in blitz games, like not only in bullet where they have a few seconds. And it works with players for like 2200, and it works every freaking time. So that could also be used as a trick in bullet and blitz games for the viewers. But it's just very interesting how when you're getting checked and you know that there are many checks, the aim becomes somewhere around, the king, and then you're blind to everything else. So you're not seeing that you could take a queen in one move.
Well, that's a great trick. I will definitely use it with my students as well.
It totally works. You should try it out.
Yeah, but I think it was a mix of both. Like my student wanted to complete development no matter what, and he was also blind to that f3 move, because I mean that are biases that almost everybody has, like in my experience. I mean, if you start playing chess and if you start consuming some content on YouTube, then there is no chance you will not see those rules. You will definitely discover them somewhere, and it was a mix of both. And the reason why you should try, those things, why you should try sometimes not complete your development or push f3, is that you will get valuable feedback. If you think that f3 is the best move in the position, play it and let your opponent punish you for that move if that move was wrong, and then you will learn. And because if you don't play it, you will never know. So getting a feedback is another super important part of that.
Yeah, I think you're very right. That's, by the way, the most important reason why that's a bad thing to do. So of course you could make a mistake and not notice f3 in one game. That's important, but that's not as important as the fact that you damage that feedback loop. So now you can never receive feedback around those f3 moves, which means that you're not going to try it, which means that you're not going to get better at knowing when such a move is good and such a move is bad. So that's the main issue with that. And again, once you stack up a lot of these, like in the long term, it damages your improvement, curve. So that's a very big one.
I absolutely loved Pasha's story from the last episode. You should, guys, check out the last episode as well. And his story was that when he just started playing chess, and he played e4, e5, queen to h5. So he developed his queen very early in the game, because it makes sense, right? You want to attack opponent's king, and you want to attack maybe opponent's pawn.
And the queen is a powerful piece as well, right? So.
Yeah. And the worst thing that a coach could do is to tell a student that don't play queen h5 because it's a bad idea to develop the queen early in the opening. So this is the worst thing you could do. And the best thing you could do is let them play and let opponents punish you for that move if it's a bad idea. And maybe they will not punish you for that. And then it means it's not a bad idea at your level. And then you should keep playing until you start losing because of that.
Actually, that's... Yeah, I stopped playing queen h5 when it stopped working.
So basically, last year, yeah.
And even I think last year there was a game where I played Queen H5, and even Magnus sometimes does that. I think there was a World Blitz Championship or World Rapid Championship where he went for this Scholar's Mate trick against one of the Grandmasters. It didn't work, and yeah, but it reminded me of I think one little video that I saw this last week of Magnus talking about the best opening for beginners. I don't know the context of that video, like where it happened, but he said that, you should just play e4, and then in response to e5, you play Queen h5. And then like 99% of the time, your opponent is going to attack your queen with a pawn. And then your queen will just capture the central pawn that black has, and you win a lot of material. So he actually said, do it, do it, go for it. It's a great opening, and it will work very often for beginners. I think that's true.
Ben Feingold will not agree with that.
Yeah,
I mean, what
you
can I say?
you gotta find out on your own, and once this Queen h5 move stops working for you, well, that means that you're on a new level and you start playing.
I think that's really the key moment that most coaches totally miss is, I mean, I used to do it wrong for years, where you think of a move objectively,
Exactly.
right? Like you're like, oh, Queen h5 is just not a good move. But the thing is, as you all mentioned, is that it is good for like certain levels. And the best way to figure out what's good and what's bad is by, again, just playing out the games and then stop doing something when it doesn't work. If it works, it means it's not bad for your level, right? And that's a really difficult thing to do as a coach because it's not very intuitive. You just look at the board, right, and it's like, oh, it's just a bad move, and you tell them, okay, just don't make this bad move, and you explain it. You're like, okay, just don't develop the queen because they're gonna start attacking it, and the queen is gonna get in trouble, and then they never play it, and then they never learn when it's a good move and when it's a bad move, and that's also an issue. So it damages that natural process. But honestly, like there are hundreds and hundreds of different mistakes that coaches make that damage that whole process. So it's painful. It's really painful to see. And I know that I've made all of these mistakes, like all of them. Like you name it, I did it. So it sucks. It sucks. And it really damages it really damages the long-term experience because you start, like, it becomes impossible to improve at a certain point, and then you're basically just stuck at where you are, and no matter how much more time you dedicate to chess, it will never improve. And like it really sucks. So like I had a student who was like around 2000, and like his rating would go between like 1900 and 2100. And at some point, long time ago, we did lessons for like 2 years, and there was zero improvement. Like we literally covered everything there was to cover. We covered all his openings. I explained to him every single idea inside every one of these openings. Like we did everything, like literally everything. He also memorized quite a few things. 2 freaking years of going through different positions, like trying to figure out what things are good, what things are bad. Like we would analyze his games. 2 years, zero improvement, zero. And that really sucks, right? Because when you dedicate so much time, when you dedicate like so many resources, and then you're not seeing any result, definitely it makes you want to consider quitting chess, right? Like it really sucks. So all of these things, they pile up and they make improvement really difficult. And that's something that I hope we can fight for, right? Or even fight against in our podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Another reason why I love that Queen h5 move and that Queen h5 story is that it makes sense. That move makes sense, especially at the beginner's level. And the other day I had a lesson with another student who is a very strong player, around 2000. Also zero, I mean, not zero improvement maybe, but very little improvement. So we are struggling now, and we're trying to work it out somehow. But especially with the older students, it's much harder to convince them to actually, play instead of pretending to learn. Basically, that's what I mean by memorizing all the openings and all the like patterns and doing puzzles. But yeah, that's another story. And the thing is that we were talking about some opening, and he said that he bought a chessable course, and basically he plays this flank pawn move all the time in the Queen's Indian defense. And I've been playing that opening pretty much for my whole life, and I didn't know about that move, about that flank pawn move. And I asked him, okay, but what's the idea? Like, what's the idea of that move? And he couldn't explain. So he bought a chessable course. He spent like hours and hours memorizing all these lines. And that move, I think it's like move 5. So it's just the beginning, of theory. And I asked him, I mean, what's the idea? There is no idea.
But
And
let's make it even more fun. So obviously, in a chessable course, it explains the idea. So the fun thing, you should tell him, okay, go memorize what's written there. So he's gonna go to the next lesson, and he's like well prepared. He's like, now I'm gonna tell you what that means, and then he gives you the explanation, and then you just ask him like, but what does that explanation mean? Like, try to explain that, and that's gonna like break his mind, because the explanation is probably like very empty. It doesn't have any like real meaning to the current position, probably like something very general that doesn't make any sense, and that's gonna totally like break his mind.
it will. It broke his mind a little already. So you shouldn't make moves that don't make sense to you. Just don't make them. Play moves that make sense to you. It will be easier and more fun to play.
Yeah. The funny thing is that one of my students also had the exact same issue with the exact same move, flank pawn move, in the exact same type of positions. Just playing it out of the blue because he saw it in
Guys,
another chessable course.
don't buy chessable courses. Don't do it. Not good for your improvement.
I agree.
Right. So actually, I made a very similar mistake when I was already a very strong player, like 2300. So how did I prepare against my opponents? So basically, I was spending hours and hours before the game trying to memorize, some lines and some openings, and trying to catch my opponents and get a great position out of the opening. I thought it was very important for me to study openings, because I was already a strong player. But now I understand that I wasn't, and I should have actually like played chess more, and actually I should become a stronger player. But what happened is, I remember I played the Ukrainian team championship. I played against an international master, and he always played one thing. And for me, it was like a gift, Okay, perfect. Now I can spend 5 hours and prepare like some line and get an advantage with black right out of the opening. And that's what happened. I memorized everything. I played 20 moves without spending any time at all. I had like 95 minutes after 20 moves on my clock. Got a great position, and guess what happened later? Okay, even the king fell, from the start. So what happened is that I spent around 60 minutes on the next 3-4 moves. I had no idea what was happening in the position, and he destroyed me like 5 moves later. And it was so embarrassing for me that I spent so much time, preparing some line. I didn't understand at all. I didn't understand the moves. I didn't understand the ideas. I just, played the textbook moves. I got a great position, and then I lost so badly that I don't want to watch that game ever again.
Yep, I mean that must hurt.
It still hurts. You could feel it.
Yeah, for sure.
I thought about like this, chessable thing just now. Like, let's say I want to study some opening, some gambit. Where do I study it? I just want to play some gambit that is for fun. You need a place where you can find it.
I mean, you could just go to YouTube, say like, okay, what's the most fun gambit in chess? Watch like a 7-minute video to see how it starts, like first 3 moves, and then go start playing it and like improvise and try out your things. And yes, it will be difficult in the first 20, 30 games, but then you will get a feel of it. You're like, oh, those are the ideas, and then you will pick it up.
Or even just explore things on your own, with that opening, with play and explore on your own, because you spend time on a course anyway, right? You might as well spend time just
Because Pasha,
playing. And
I've tested it many times with pretty much all openings with, I mean, tens of students. What I noticed is that the best thing to do is not to tell them anything about like literally you better tell them nothing, because the smallest thing you tell them, they trying to to grab onto it. So it's like, okay, this is a setup, like this is where you can like develop your knights immediately. Every single game, no matter what, the knights are developed that way. So it's much better to just say, okay, here's the king's gambit. You just go e4, e5, then f4, and then figure it out from there.
yeah, I agree, but I'm talking, your students are lucky to have you. I'm talking about people who don't do sessions with coaches, who don't
But now they are lucky to listen to our podcast, and we can give them valuable advices.
Yeah. So that YouTube advice, just finding some video and then experimenting. I agree that helps, but that's why this thing about like not telling people things is not very applicable to people who don't have coaches anyway, right? And there are a lot
Why?
of people.
Why? You just start playing, like you just learn first 2 moves where you play f4, and then you just play it. That's it. You
Yeah,
just play
but
it
they
in your own
don't.
game.
Anyway, like those people don't have coaches to hear those rules from. They can still, make their own rules from videos they see. So I agree with your point, but I'm just saying that I was talking about people, people that buy Chessable courses because they want to study an opening, but they don't know, where to look for.
And especially if you're a beginner, like you shouldn't spend more than a few minutes on a new opening, right? So you just open a YouTube video, you watch you see some idea, you apply it in your game, just first moves, and then chess is such a rich game that you never know how it will turn out, how it will play out, because especially if you're a beginner, people play some random shit right in the opening. Like you cannot prepare against anything. But even if you could, it still wouldn't be a good idea. But the thing is that you can't, and you just play first few moves, and then you experiment and you try.
But the biggest thing is that like the worst mindset you can have is that if you think that chess is playing well is related to knowing as many rules as you can and remembering as much stuff as you can, because that's just not true. So I think that's another reason why people go and buy those courses, because they think that if they buy that course and if they go over that course, that will automatically make them a better player.
Which is not true at all. Yep.
Yes, but that's what they think, like usually if I go somewhere and I study something, I get better at that, right? Like if I want to study some math, I study a little bit. I know more of that. I'm better at math. But chess is a game. That's actually one of the what I thank my parents for. Every time before an important tournament, they never told me. Like there was just one thing that they always told me. They were like, Pasha, remember that chess is a game and you have to play it. They were like, chess is a game, because sometimes I'd be too serious about things and maybe like study a little bit too much. It was interesting
Your heart
digging into
rate
different
still.
openings and positions, but they were like, every time they're like, it's a game, you have to play it. And there are some people, I remember Alexander Bortnik, um, he didn't know that many fancy openings, that many fancy lines. He's just a very talented player. He plays. the game. He feels the game, and that's why he's so good, and he was so good. It was especially for me his style was impressive. That was champ.
It's interesting that he went above 2600 without basically ever like studying chess.
Yeah,
and I think like like if things were a bit more in his favor in other ways, maybe he would go way beyond 2600. And you could see that in Blitz, he's probably like online, he's top 10 player in the world, 100%, and
exactly.
without like ever like studying chess, basically, and playing like the shittiest openings you could think of. Yeah, that's interesting. So what I typically do is I with my students in the beginning is that I propose this hypothetical experiment. So let's say you have, I mean, most people, they have like some friends who play chess that are better than them, but let's just imagine you do, right? So like you have a friend who's better than you are. Now imagine that in 1 second, magically, you just memorized everything there is to memorize in chess. Like you basically got the knowledge of openings and patterns of Magnus Carlsen. Like it just happened in 1 second. So now let's say in terms of the things that are possible to memorize in chess, you're 10 out of 10 magically. Now there is an actual skill. So when you cannot just replicate what you memorized, you're in in some position, you have to make a move. Let's call that your real skill. So your real skill, let's say it's 2 out of 10. Let's say your friend is like 1 out of 10 on the things that that are possible to memorize, but his actual skill is 5 out of 10. So he's gonna crush you every single game, unless some of the games you get lucky and you trap him into like some checkmate that you memorized in the beginning. But most of the time, you're going to get totally crushed no matter how good your positions are. And that's exactly what, Misha's story was about, where he spent a bunch of time, he memorized things, he got into position that is objectively very good, huge advantage. He didn't understand it. It was above his level. So when he started actually playing it and showing like his actual skill of that position, everything immediately collapsed. So chess is not about retention. Chess is not about memorizing things. Chess is a game, as Pasha said, and he was lucky to have good parents that reminded him of that. So it's very important to understand, like chess is closer to art in some ways. Like you're an artist who's exploring things and trying things, and it's very different from just memorizing the whole thing. And again, it's just not possible. The game is too complicated. Well, it could be possible in some other areas. Like you could literally like memorize your way through in a lot of things. But in chess, it's just not possible because there are too many variations, too many moves. So don't waste your time on that, because that will actually prevent you from getting good feedback later in your improvement process, and that will prevent you from increasing like your actual skill of the game, and that sucks.
There has been a discussion whether chess is a science or art or sport. So your take is that it's rather art and sport, but not science.
I mean, I have no
It's
idea. It's like
simplification of
everyone.
It depends. It really depends.
Yeah.
Because it depends on your attitude towards the game. And it's been like that for ages. People are like, it's just science, it's just art, is that a sport? Like, it's not a sport if you don't play tournaments or if you don't play online. If you just enjoy studying end games, and if you enjoy chess composition, let's say puzzles, if you enjoy creating puzzles and solving puzzles, it's definitely a science, right? Because each puzzle has strictly one mathematical solution, a sequence of moves that solves that position. It's a science then. Well, if you play tournaments, if your goal is to win tournaments, if sometimes flagging your opponent, winning on time is an option, that's definitely a sport. Sometimes you don't make best moves. You just play fast to make your opponent lose on time. That's sport. And that's an art in terms of like overall chess improvement, in my opinion. Yeah, because you have to explore things, you have to understand and feel the game. So overall, it depends. It really depends.
Well, let's better all agree that chess is art because it sounds cooler. And
yeah, well, chess is, in my opinion, chess is art in context, like of our students, and in context of their path towards becoming a better player. Chess is definitely mostly an art, in my opinion.
Yeah. So if you play bullets, consider yourself an artist, and if someone says otherwise, tell them to come here and argue with us.
Yeah.
yeah, and you can definitely argue in the comments. And if you have anything to share, any stories, any improvement struggles, then please share. And I think it's a great point to end our conversation here, unless you wanted to add something.
Yeah, just a few more things. So I've noticed that like some of my students, they have friends who play chess, and some of them are like better than them, so they would listen to me, and I mean, they would do things as I say, and they would improve, but they would also like try to understand conceptually like why they're improving and how things are. And obviously, like, it takes a long time to get to the bottom of these things, and I'm guessing a lot of the time they don't like fully understand all the points I'm making, and then they probably like talk about it with their friends, and like their friends are like making fun of them that they're like playing bully games. So I think I mentioned it once, where I had a student who is I mean, his maximum level now was 1,000 in bullet on chess.com. He got there in like 8 months or so, maybe 7 months, so something
After
along these lines.
discovering the game?
Basically, like after started, yeah. And he has a friend who is like 2,000 in rapid on chess.com, who played chess for like, I don't know, his whole freaking life. And recently, my student like made a draw against him in a real like over the board game when they played with like no clock, and it was like a real long game where the guy just couldn't beat my student. And there were other games where my student was winning, but he would still mess up because like the difference in the level is so huge. But it's just funny how that could work out. So like he only spends, I mean, like 8 months maybe at most, and was able to compete, obviously, you know, with pretty bad odds still, but against someone who spent decades like studying the game, and who was like mocking him for like playing the bullet, and like not memorizing the openings. So for our viewers here, you could, you know, explore these things, talk about those things with your friends. Probably gonna get mocked in some conversations, but you know, just send them right here. Or maybe if they, you know, if you think they found some great arguments against what you heard here, come back, write a comment. We'll see if it's something interesting. We will address it and in some of the videos, and then, you know, and then we can all learn from this.
Yeah, let them mock you, but the revenge will be so satisfying.
Very sweet, yes. Then you'll destroy them on the board, and that's what matters the most.
Exactly.
Okay, it was a pleasure as always, guys. It's a highlight of my week to talk to you, and I'm looking forward to the next episodes.
Awesome. See you soon, guys.
See you soon. Have a great one.